Greeting, this is Ron from the Encyclopedia team. It is with great pleasure we have Dr. Tomasz Wilanowski for the interview. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, Dr. Wilanowski, before we dive in, our audiences would love to get to know you a bit better. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I was born in Warsaw, Poland. I graduated from the University of Warsaw, Faculty of Chemistry, as a Master of Science. Then I went on to Australia, to Canberra, capital of Australia, where I did my Doctor of Philosophy course in the Australian National University Research School of Biological Sciences. And I stayed there for my first postdoc. After that, I moved to Melbourne, also in Australia, Royal Melbourne Hospital, where I worked for almost 11 years as a senior research officer. After that, I returned to Poland, to Nensky Institute of Experimental Biology of the Polish Academy of Sciences in Warsaw. I worked there for 10 years. And it's my fourth year now at the University of Warsaw, Faculty of Biology.
Thank you for your introduction. Being of great research interest, could you please briefly tell us some background of the review Grainyhead-like target genes in development and cancer, published in International Journal of Molecular Sciences?
Well, this is a summary of work, of course, not just mine or my research team from many teams across the world, but it all started in 1998 when I moved to Royal Melbourne Hospital. And it was the idea of my then boss and currently Professor Stephen Jain to investigate simple functions of Grainyhead-like genes because related genes were important in the regulation of human hemoglobin genes, and they were important for hemoglobinopathies. So we generated several animal models to study them, and at the same time where we are publishing it, other research teams also joined in. So primary focus was always development and cancer, and that's what the review is about.
Thank you. So the next section is about neural tube closure and morphogenesis. Can you please describe it specifically?
That was the first phenotype we observed in mouse model that they had spina bifida, that is open neural tube in the lower thoracolambosacral region. And a very similar disease, well, exactly the same disease, occurs in humans, which is not lethal. And that's actually very tragic because these people are usually paralyzed from the waist down. And because we have open backbone, there is always risk of infections, major trouble with central nervous system. So the key of investigations by my group and other groups was to figure out what exactly these genes are doing there, and quite a lot. And this is all summarized in this review.
Thank you. Speaking of Grainyhead-like in development and cancer, what do you think about it? What are the biggest challenges we face by?
With cancer, this particular family of genes certainly is very important for cancer. However, there are three genes of this family, so they play different roles in different types of cancer. In some situations, they support cancer development. In other situations, they suppress cancer, and we have no idea why. And I think this is the biggest challenge right now, to figure out why we have such different results from different types of cancer before we can progress to any medical applications.
I am sure curing cancer won't be an easy task. So, before we finish, we'd like to ask, what's your perspective of this research field?
It is going to be very difficult because they are transcription factors. and they are not regulated by any steroid hormones. So developing medicines targeting these factors is going to be very difficult, but that doesn't mean it is impossible. It may be very beneficial. So what I would like to see is basically figuring out how to stop functioning of these genes in types of cancer where we know they support the growth of cancer. And I don't agree with you, fighting cancer is very difficult. We already have 662 anti-cancer drugs approved by the Food and Drug Administration of the United States. So we have plenty of drugs against cancer. Trouble is, they don't cure all types of cancer. They're for very specific subtypes of cancer, so we need more of them. So this is, to me, the greatest promise of this field.
Certainly. So, is there any acknowledgement you would like to make?
For this particular review, I'd like to acknowledge my Australian colleagues, Charbel Darido and Seb Dvorkin. And most of all, I'd like to acknowledge my former boss and mentor, Professor Stephen Jane, also from Melbourne, who, to my knowledge, is currently approaching retirement. So he is no longer active in research.
Dr. Wilanowski, we wish you and your fellow colleagues the best of luck on your future research, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.